Hi everybody, hope you're keeping well. I'm Geethika Cooray and I'm the Vice President and General Manager of WSO2's Identity and Access Management business. If you've missed the first video of this series, I spoke about and announced some of the capabilities that we've already introduced when it comes to securing your Agentic AI. In today's session, we're kind of taking a step back to discuss concepts around Identity Access Management for Agentic AI, some real-world examples, and we'll talk about why traditional IAM will not cut it when it comes to securing your Agentic AI. And for this conversation, I'm excited to have with us Rania Khalaf. Rania is our Chief AI Officer. And we have Ayesha Dissanayaka, who's leading our R&D effort when it comes to Identity Access Management for Agentic AI. So I'm going to start off with you, Rania. Maybe if you could help us take a step back, let's go down to the basics. If you can talk to us about Agentic AI, give us some real-world examples, and also talk about how Agentic AI differs from traditional software.
Thanks, Geeks. It's great to be here. So some time back with foundation models and generative AI models, we started to see a massive improvement in conversational AI. And in the first step, we saw a lot of applications that were embedding calls to generative AI systems. And those were very focused on question answering. So can you answer better and can you summarize text and work a lot with natural language? So examples of that, there's ChatGPT, for example, was one application that was making calls to the GPT family of models behind the scenes to give us this interaction. And another example is for inside of Gmail, if you have Gemini enabled, you can refine the text of your message and update your draft and so on. So in that set of capabilities, the AI capabilities behind the scenes was mainly working in natural language and was not having any side effect or taking on any work. So the next step was to have these AI applications that are also taking actions, and these actions potentially could have side effects. So in this case, they are checking code into GitHub or booking a flight or transferring money. Those were dependent on what you were wanting your agent to do. Those are the things it was doing. And when we really start to call them agents, it's when we start to see agent frameworks that are using reasoning and planning to decide what actions should be taken and in what order they should be taken based on the intent of what and the goals of that agent. Initially, that could be embedded inside an application, right? So that the agent is working on behalf of one user and as part of a broader application to accomplish its goals. And more we are seeing examples of these agents becoming more autonomous. So can we think of an agent as a junior team member and part of a team? And in that case, it's really working on it with its own identity. But we still have to think of, is someone responsible for that agent and the work that it is doing?
So autonomous agents interacting with other agents, and agents performing tasks on your behalf. So Ayesha, why is security such an important consideration? And what are the risks of not considering security?
I'll start with a very recent example. So if you have heard of this Replit use case, Replit is a software engineering assistant platform where they employ a set of agents and AI to write software. And there was a recent incident where this agent deleted an entire production database, despite it was asked not to in the system prompt. That's where the importance comes, because if we don't do proper access controls and entitlement management around these agents, they could do things that you don't expect them to. So it's very important that to make sure that they work within the limits they are supposed to work, and not just instructing them, but also enforcing the rules and policies and access control layers on top of these agents. And most importantly, the traditional software was more of predictable, and traditional IAM also designed for that, where the application logic is predefined and it will act the way it was supposed to. For example, if we take an workplace, so the employees will come in the morning and they log into the system and they will log out in the evening and finish off their work. But in an agentic system, the agents are working 24/7. There are the authentication patterns and the level of access they will have and the time time period, those things will differ. So in the sense, like, if we take traditional identity and access management, those are more towards static or rather predictable behaviors, but with agentic AI it changes. And also agents have different behaviors. If you take chat like an agent that would be mostly working on behalf of a user, more like a traditional application in the sense. But if you take internal automation agent, like a workload automation agent, that would like go through the existing system and do some environment management kind of things, and that will be more like a workload. And if we take kind of this Salesforce Agentforce agents, those are more like part of workforce. So like Rania talked about the junior employees, so now they are more like humans. So these agents have the attributes of all these different types of entities. So in that sense, the identity of agents also get blurred. So those are some of the challenges we have in this agentic AI world.
So you mentioned traditional identity access management. Of course, identity access management is not a new concept. It's been around. And I just want to take a deeper dive into the unique challenges, right? Why does traditional identity access management not cut it in this new agentic AI world? Rania, do you want to take a quick take, and then we'll go to Ayesha on this question as well?
Sure. I think there's two areas to think about here. As these agents get access to APIs as agentic tools, we see that they're able to access a lot of different capabilities. And that may at the surface look like in the days of old when you had RPAs or bots or some such, right? Or even an application that calls other APIs, right? People question, why is that different? So in this case, with the agents potentially reasoning and planning and potentially having a wider aperture of things you can call, the old techniques, they kind of apply, but it's not quite enough. And then the other part is when we think about identity for these agents, because they're not always associated to one person. So as the agents become more autonomous, so if we think, for example, of an agent that could help with recruiting, right? It may work with the applicant to schedule the interview. It may work with the manager to review the applicants. It may work with the whole team that did the interviews for that potential employee to be able to, gather and collect all the feedback and information, right? So in that case, it's not acting only on behalf of one person, right? And it may be working on its own. So, but it's not really a human. So you don't want to just take the capabilities that you have to represent employees and use it for the agent, but it's still not exactly a workload. So this is where you fall through the cracks. And we see a lot of work happening in the community around advancing some of the existing standards and techniques to handle those use cases.
Yeah, of course. We are not starting at the zero level because we have very good foundation for identity access management in the today's world application, and agentic AI is an extension on top of that. So there are a lot of existing IAM construct that we can use. We have agents in live production in some organization, and some of them are using applications to represent agents, so which works based on the context that the agent works. And some of the cases they have used service accounts. Then again, that works for background agents or like workload automation kind of agents. Of course, there are more riskier ways of like giving your API tokens, credentials to the agents, which happens, by the way, because of the nature of how things have been evolving, but those are very risky. Imagine you giving your credential to the agent and they might share it with the underlying AI model or put it in the internet next day. So that's why we need to have better ways of identifying these agents and authenticating and authorizing them into the existing systems in terms of challenges. Now we have new set of challenges. Traditionally, the normal applications, they might work on behalf of one user at a time, but if in an agentic system, it can have the ability to work for multiple users at the same time. In that case, you might want to think about getting permissions from these different users, because if you take a manager, the manager may have different set of permission, but an applicant will not have any permission on the organization system. So it's very important that which user the agent caters to and what resources that the agent accesses.
And I think we also need to think about monitoring what these agents are doing and knowing what to do and if and when they start to misbehave, right? So this goes around auditing is important and being able to revoke access to different systems and revoke their tokens, right? Not give them any more new tokens and expire what they have.
Absolutely. So coming from the IAM and specifically from the custom identity access management world, something that we always evangelize, we talk to all our customers about, is the fact that it's no longer only about security, but also about user experience, at both at the same level, right? Secure and seamless user experiences. So now with end users, employees interacting with agents, balancing out user experience and security becomes even more complex. So how do you sort of see that aspect? How do you see that coming into being?
Yeah, so as they say, right, in the digital world, the most secure thing is to do nothing, right? So in the base case, you don't allow anything to happen. And that's, of course, like horrible user experience and great security, maybe. But as we try to balance these two things, right, because you want the agent to be able to do its work without interrupting the humans constantly to give consent and to check over his shoulder. But you don't want it to run amok, right, and to go off the rails. So that's where you have to really think about how you're designing these user experiences and these interactions between the authentication platforms and the agentic frameworks, right? And the whatever front end you're using.
When it comes to balancing user experience, so it has always been a problem and very hard thing to do. And with the agentic AI and we needing human in the loop verification, if we want to verify each and every action of the agents, it will be a horrible experience as well. People have consent fatigue and they might give consent to everything. So you don't know, today you might give consent to everything, but you don't know what the agent will use it for in the next day. Some of the things that we can do is like do this human in the loop verification on top of thresholds. Like for example, up to $100 you can do transaction by your own, but if you're exceeding that limit, then ask the manager. Also, when we are designing these protocols and doing implementation, there also we have to think about the experience as well. For example, earlier versions of MCP specification, they require to authenticate to the MCP server first to get the tool list. So that means like when you are developing an application, if it's an interactive one, then the user first has to come and log into the system. But that's not the normal way. Like there can be system that you first like do a chat and like get some basic understanding, and then only you go to do something specific, right? So in that case, like we need the step up authentication and authorization. So as the MCP community, they have understood that, and in the text draft they have onboarded this step up authorization, which is great. So these standards are also evolving. So that's to cater to these user experiences as well. So that's a great thing.
It's also exciting to see, as you just mentioned, that the community, the IAM community, is coming to solve these problems, that they are seeing this as an area that needs to be considered as part of building these agents and so on and so forth. And I'm excited to have Ayesha, you and Rania and all our team members be part of the conversation, very much at the forefront of it as well. So that should be very interesting to see where all these specifications evolve as well. So I think we come down to like the final couple of questions, and I want to sort of ask you, each of you, your thoughts on where you see Agentic AI evolving. Rania, to start with you, and a few recommendations, Ayesha, from you to our customers, because agents, the concept of agents is really, it's quite a buzz right now. Everybody's talking about agents. If they haven't already implemented agents, they are going to be very sooner rather than later. So where do you see it's going? And and both of you are some recommendations of what organizations should consider when it comes to securing these agents that they're implementing.
I believe every engineer will be an AI engineer as well in the future, right? AI is becoming a basic part of our computing stack, just like APIs and data. So everyone needs to learn to be conversant and use these tools, but the stack has not really been ready, right? So the whole middleware stack is evolving to be able to give first-class concepts to make integrating AI agents or just foundation models or otherwise easy, secure, fast. So I believe we're going to see more and more of these agents. We're going to learn a lot as some cases they will wreak havoc because there's a lot of early adoption in this space. And this area is moving so fast, right? Like with things that used to take 20 years to reach maturity, now we're seeing that compressed into, maybe 3 or 5 years. So, but there are ways to start. You can use it in areas that are less risky, right? So don't start in your riskiest application and the riskiest tools, right? But right, so I think people are ready to adopt right away. And as we see with Ascardio and other tools for IAM and other spaces, we see there's a quick evolution and adoption of the capabilities needed to do this securely, safely, at scale.
So I read somewhere that only a very small portion of agents go to production nowadays. I think one of the reasons is that not having proper access control and guardrails, and so because of that, not being able to trust them fully in the production system. So nowadays, like, people are very keen on building agents. I think identity and access management and security should be thought that we give consideration from the day one, because it shouldn't come as an afterthought, because if we want to apply those concepts later on the development or deployment journey, then that will be quite hard, or the damage might already be done. Consider the security aspect of it from the day one, and there are a lot of existing IAM construct that you can use based on the context that you are on. Of course, you can have and come and look at our Ascardio offering that we have, where we give unique identities to agents, and on top of that you can govern who has access to the agents as well. That's very important in a business. We can put out agents there, but not everybody should get access to every agent in the system. So that part is also important, I think. So all in all, I think security and access control should be thought that we incorporate into the agent development from the day one.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. That's great recommendations. So folks, as you can see, these are not very long conversations. This series will continue. In our next video, Ayesha will be joining me to take a deeper dive into implementing or assigning identities and credentials to your agents. And then we talk about some of the capabilities that are launched on Ascardio. And in the meantime, if you haven't already, visit www.com/Ascardio, create an account, it's free of charge. To get started and try out the capabilities that we have already launched to secure those agents and authorize your MCP servers. And well, until then, thanks so much, ladies, for joining me. I'm happy securing your Agentic AI.